In March 2020, during the initial outbreak of COVID-19 in the UK, TV presenter Kate Garraway and her husband Derek Draper discussed the impact the virus could possibly have on the country. "I can remember the week before Draper got sick, he was saying, I think we're going to have a lockdown, I think the schools are going to close, we need to think about it," Garraway recalled in a BBC interview later that year. But neither of them could have predicted the devastating impact the virus would have personally on Draper's health. After his initial diagnosis, the author and former political advisor spent 98 days in a medically induced coma. Draper's body was ravaged by COVID. He was reported as being the longest surviving patient with coronavirus after 184 days in and out of intensive care. He suffered extreme complications related to the disease and died earlier this week aged 56. In the almost 4 years between his diagnosis and his death, Garraway stayed in the public eye and talked openly about the family's struggles, raising the profile of carers and awareness of long COVID in the process. Our story is your story. Draper returned home from hospital on April 8, 2021, around 13 months after first being diagnosed. "He is still here, which means there is hope," Garraway said at the time, reflecting a sense of optimism that captured the mood of the country, as the public were still grieving the loss of loved ones whilst also dreaming of some kind of return to normal life. By that point, the UK had been through several lockdowns. The death toll from COVID had recently reached 100,000. Draper's illness may have been a personal story, but it was one that so many people experiencing that same heartbreak and hope could empathize with. Garraway began sharing regular updates on her husband's health soon after he was diagnosed. The Good Morning Britain presenter documented the impact of the virus on her family, not just on social media, but also in documentaries and books. In March 2021, ITV broadcast Finding Derek, an intimate and moving 1-hour documentary which explored Draper's illness and its effects on Kate and their 2 children, daughter Darcy, then 15, and 11-year-old son Billy. Cameras followed Garraway as she got the family home ready for Draper's return. She instructed builders on where to install wheelchair ramps in her home, dealt regularly with doctors who discussed Derek's progress, and spoke to other people who were suffering the effects of long COVID. The documentary, recorded over the course of a year, also showed the first time Derek had spoken in 7 months. He was filmed the previous October saying the word pain to his wife, who became emotional as she watched over FaceTime. Kate Garraway pictured with daughter Darcy at the National Television Awards. Image source: Getty Images. Image caption: Kate Garraway pictured with daughter Darcy at the National Television Awards. It was Garraway's realistic yet optimistic attitude that brought comfort to others similarly affected. "I've never loved Derek more or feared losing him more," she said in Finding Derek. "Is he going to be alive but no longer the same person? Am I grieving for the man I married? Or fighting to hold on to him when I should be trying to adjust?" She concluded that it may be a rather beautiful thing as we might have to fall in love all over again. Finding Derek resonated with viewers and went on to win a National Television Award, voted for by the public for Best Authored Documentary. Accepting the trophy, Garraway told the audience, "Thank you so much for voting. I wonder if the reason why you did is because our story is your story. I think we've all been touched by the pandemic, whether it's livelihoods, mental health. If you're still living with the scars, the fight goes on. Whatever you're going through and however you're affected, you're not forgotten," she added. "We want the joy back, the hope is real." A year later, Garraway won a second NTA for her follow-up documentary, Caring for Derek. She also published 2 books, titled The Power of Hope and The Strength of Love. Within the pages, Garraway shared her personal story and the hope she could help anyone who has ever felt desperate, lonely, or experienced profound loss. The TV presenter said she decided to share her husband's story as he's a psychotherapist and a psychologist. "So I feel like that he would want his journey to be told."